Today we're going to go over 5 books I believe can change your life. Book number 1 is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is a book that I read early on in my pursuit of self-development. I think when I was like 18 years old is when I first picked up like a self-help type book. It was something that went along the lines of the law of attraction. And I remember learning about these early ideas and it was life-changing for me. It was like, yes, I needed this, as a young man who had these dreams and ambitions. I wanted to know that there was a way to align with them, that there was a way to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And so some of my mentorship has come in the form of books. And so book number 1, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think I read this when I was like 18, early on in college. And this book is just one of those really practical interpersonal books. It teaches you about being interested in other people. It teaches you about remembering names. It teaches you about, praising the good qualities in people in order to promote influence, and in order to build connection with people. It's something that's so important. Remember, there's this one story in the book. It's about this job site manager, and he is trying to get people to wear their hard hats on the job site more frequently, because if somebody got hit in the head, it'd be detrimental to their business. And so he used to go around and scold people when they wouldn't wear their hard hats. And so what he started doing is, instead of doing that, he started to praise people who are wearing their hard hats on job site and giving them praise for it. You can inspire more action by encouraging people than criticizing them. And so I thought that was a really a good point from the book. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, this book was just, whatever industry you're in, whoever you are, whatever you're looking to do in life, How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of those books that's just going to give you a few different gems that's going to allow you to build deeper connections. So that's like a book I think everyone can read and benefit from. Book number 2, The Alchemist. There was this interview that circulated. It was part of like this motivational compilation I found on YouTube, and it was Will Smith talking about the law of attraction, and he was talking about the alchemy, basically like this idea that he could take his life and create and achieve whatever he wanted from it. And he said that this book, The Alchemist, was one that really was instrumental in his journey. And so I picked it up, and The Alchemist it's a fiction book. It's a fiction book about what I would consider the hero's journey. So it's about this young kid named Santiago, and Santiago has this recurring dream about this treasure. And he's a shepherd boy, he's got his flock, and basically, to summarize without giving too much away, he ends up leaving his comfort, which was his flock, and he decides to pursue this dream. And on his pursuit of this dream, he gets duped, he gets distracted, he doubts himself, he doubts his journey, he doubts that the dream had any value to it. And so he hits all these roadblocks along the way, and he builds relationships, he finds mentors, he almost dies in the pursuit of what in the book they talk about his personal legend, which would be like your dream, your goal, your purpose. And they call it his personal legend. And so he's pursuing his personal legend, and it almost costs him his life. And he met a girl along the way. He had to leave this girl who he fell in love with, and she encouraged him on his journey, and he almost gets to, or he does eventually get to where he's looking to get to. And again, without giving too much away, it sends him back home. It sends him back to where it all started. And there's so many gems, and like, you're gonna read this book. This is one of those books you're gonna read, and you're gonna be like, I am Santiago, whatever it is that you're pursuing in your life. Whether you're the point where you're distracted, whether you're the point where you're motivated, whether you're at the point where you just have a dream and you have your comfortable environment and you're looking to maybe expand upon that, you're going to be able to, at different points in your life, every time I go back and read this, I have new findings from it. So it teaches you about relationship. It teaches you about staying true to yourself and staying true to your path and the importance in that. It also teaches you that what might be more important than the thing that you're chasing is the process of who you become in the pursuit of what you're chasing. So The Alchemist, great book. Book 3, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. This book I read when I was 19. And this book, it probably had the biggest impact in me starting my business, and it definitely had an impact in me naming my business Limitless. This book was published after Napoleon Hill passed away because the ideas in this book, and to have a hypothetical or literal interview with the devil back in the early 20th century would not have been a very popular book to produce. So they produced it well after he had passed away. They found it wasn't a book, it was just a journal. And it is his sit down with the devil. And basically what he's trying to do, this is the premise of the book. He says, devil, 98% of people are not actualized. 98% of people are drifters. Why is that? How do you get your grips on majority of people? And how come only 2% of people have definiteness of purpose? Meaning these are the people who can achieve what they set out to achieve. They have goals, they have direction, they have power, they have influence. Why does such a small percentage of people embody that purpose? And so he goes through and he interviews the devil, and the devil he in this book, it's not, don't think of the devil as like this dark figure with a pitchfork and horns who's like waiting for you to come to hell with him. That's not the idea that this book represents. One of the analogies in it is it's like the negative side of the atom, or if you have protons and electrons, like positive and negative. It is the negative side. It is the opposition to everything good, everything that we're after in this life, which is love, which is depth, which is meaning, which is purpose, which is relationship, and that's what ultimately his opposition, God, wants for us. And so, let's see. Now, I say that this has had a big impact on my business because it talks about this idea that limitations live only within the mind, which is a direct plagiarism for my slogan with Limitless, is that I believe that, I believe that for people. I've seen that in people. I've seen people transform their lives. I believe that I could transform mine consistently, slowly, if I integrate the right habits. So I've seen that personally. And it's one of those books that gives a strong contrast as to where to not go, how to keep your mind focused on good, God, the things that you want, the things that are implanted into you, and to really be afraid of the version of yourself that could become the drifter, because we all have it in us. We've all done it. We live in a world that's full of distractions, and that's one of the biggest tools that the devil's going to use, according to this book, is to distract you slowly but surely, get you to stop thinking for yourself and to start listening to all of the waves and the external noise around you. If you can do that, if you can create a habit, or in this book what they call hypnotic rhythm, habit in this book is hypnotic rhythm, then you get into this rhythm of drifting away from where you'd ultimately want to go. So a powerful book, a very powerful book, one that I think that anyone could read and benefit from, no matter your age. I would say read this book, and if you have a religious background like I do, take it for what it's worth. It's not trying to, I don't think, degrade any of God or the devil. It's just trying to give this perspective to life that I think is very true. That most of us are too afraid, too distracted, and that's really the goal of this man-made devil. So, Outwitting the Devil. Book number 4, Way of the Seal by Mark Divine. I read this book right around the time I read Outwitting the Devil for the first time. I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore in college, and I had found this kind of distinction, or I made this distinction in my life, that majority of the people I looked up to were men that served in the military. These were the guys who I was attracted to in terms of their voice, their content, their background. For a while I thought I might join the military, but I didn't end up going that path. But anyways, the Navy SEALs, like they these are like the modern day gladiators. These are some of the greatest special operators and some of the greatest people that we have serving this country. And the Way of the SEAL kind of has this tactical approach about it. It's going to be similar to the other books, but it's going to have the context of somebody who's gone through SEAL training, who's become a SEAL, who's experienced combat. Mark Divine, he was into yoga, to meditation, to martial arts as a whole, and he takes all of that and boils it down to these principles that you can use in these disciplines and exercises that you can systematically use to become SEAL-like, tactical in your approach to life. Tactical into your approach of your development, how to become, and think about anyone who serves the country, they're doing it ideally for a cause greater than themselves, and that is one of these threads throughout all of these books, is that we live to serve. We don't live to get or to preserve ourselves, but we live to give and to serve others. And if you get more into that, then you will be able to overcome a lot more in your life. It talks about having front sight focus, which is this idea that when you aim a gun, all you see is your target, you see your aim, and then you see your target, right? This target fixation. It talks about how SEALs need to fail forward fast. So this idea of being able to part ways with the things in your life and the habits in your life that have not been serving to you, and to just go forward, fail. Do not be afraid to fail, because it is necessary in order for you to refine yourself. There's this idea in the book of the 40% rule. The 40% rule is when you feel like you've hit your absolute max, you're tapped out, your body, your mind, everything. You're only at 40% of what you're truly capable of. That again is depicted with this imagery from Hell Week and these incredible things that these people have to go through in order to become a Navy SEAL. So there's a lot of power there. Another thing, embrace the suck. So it's talking about, you think about these SEALs, they're not wimpy people. These are men's men. Embrace the suck. Embrace the things that are challenging, because they are the things that are going to cultivate you into the person you need to become. So book 4, Way of the SEAL, amazing book. I want to go back and read it all the way through again soon. Alrighty, last book. Now this is the second iteration of this book, but the first iteration is the one that I'll be talking about. It is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. This book I read when I just got out of college, and this book is probably going to be the most in-depth book when it comes to this self-help, self-development category. But it gave me, I think, exactly what I needed once I graduated school. I went through my 4 years of school, and then all of a sudden you're a freshman again. You're going out at life. You're trying to figure out what you're what you're gonna do, man. It gets real quick. As a young man, you're trying to okay, I'm really out in the world. I'm really trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because there's several different options, and what I want to do is scaring me a bit. So it's systematic, but here are some of the things I pulled from that book. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who somebody else is today. At the time, Jordan Peterson spoke a lot more to, now his stuff's a bit more political, but back then it was all about the importance of how we iron out the world is by first ironing out yourself. Starting with the individual, starting with what is inside, and making sure that you are honest with yourself, making sure that you're not comparing yourself to the world or other people. You're comparing yourself in progress only to who you were yesterday, right? That's the only accurate person to compare yourself to, Another thing, put your room in perfect order before you criticize the world. So he gives all of these principles. There's 12 of them. Rule number 1, stand up straight with your shoulders back. You're posturing to the world. You're posturing to conflict. You're posturing to challenge. You're posturing to fear. Your posture in general. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. It's all of these, really simple ideas, but then he breaks them down with a lot of psychological, a lot of different studies, a lot of different evolutionary stuff that's mixed into there, because he's a very intelligent dude, a social psychologist. Yeah, 12 Rules for Life, it's going to give you that man, it's not gonna make you necessarily feel good, right? It's not one of those books you read and you necessarily feel good, but what it does is it gives you the courage to say, okay, maybe my life is trash right now. Maybe I don't have anything good. Maybe I'm not the person that I wanna be, but step by step, I can pick up my cross. I can figure out what responsibilities I would like to bear, and I can work towards getting there. I can reverse engineer this thing. I can figure out who I want to become and slowly step towards becoming that person. So 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson. Again, I just lent out my first copy, so the other book that I'm referring to actually looks a little bit different, but powerful, powerful books. I hope that this video is helpful. These 5 books, I truly believe, have the potential to really change your life, especially if you integrate the principles that are within them. They have been books that have shaped me, books that have encouraged me, books that have really changed me, and like I said, became, these guys who wrote these books have become like mentors to me through their content. So I hope this finds you well, and I want to just encourage you that whatever it is that you're going after, to continue fighting that fight, to stay away from drifting, to keep that front sight focus, to stay, locked in, upright, standing up straight, facing the world.